just this one more session. And before we get started, I realized in a few side conversations that some of you don't know how to find the presentations that have been given on the platform. If you could be so kind to quickly just show where the stuff is, because everything is up, so you don't have to photograph the screen or take frantic notes. You can still do that if you want, but you don't have to.
Okay, if you're looking for the presentations of the speakers from yesterday and today, you go to Lab on the platform. No, so sorry. To the library, and now you see nothing.
Don't open your private Facebook. Yeah.
And then you go to the right phase, for example, phase 3 in the morning, and there you have all the presentations.
And the videos.
And also the videos of the speakers. So you can take a look at them and browse through the presentations, and this works for every assignment. Okay?
So some of the videos are not from here. We are always taking the better of the two lectures. So it might be either from here or from Vamos. Yeah, this is purely driven on the preference of the speaker. All clear with that? Yes. No? Good. So you saw 3 very different people presenting their businesses. Microphone? Did anything? Super. Yeah, we are working on it. Super. Anything came to anybody's mind in meeting these people? Any observations? Quick notes? Three very different characters and very different stories, actually. Nothing noteworthy?
It was very interesting.
Hold the microphone.
I don't know. I'm a little bit tired. It was very interesting. Especially the second and third one were nice reference. Yes, I don't know.
So what was wrong with Reno and the vaccination? Who has an observation? Was there anything wrong? Yeah. Can you pass it to your colleague?
Well, what I thought is that he focused a lot on the history of vaccination and not that much on his own project. So it was a bit hard, to fill in the document.
So what he tried to explain is the general idea behind vaccines, and that they can cater to the particular problem you have because they have catered to solving that problem before. That was the argument he was making. Yeah?
And what I also found is that all 3 presentations were a bit biased.
Interesting.
They wanted to present their ideas in a positive way. So, I've found, for example, in the second presentation that he didn't mention that, in Spain, for example, there's going to be a loss of employees with his ideas.
So they were not a little bit biased. I think they were totally biased, 100%. In each case, this was a person with a passion for something. And that person was trying to convince you that this particular idea and approach is valid. None of them were trying to make a balanced argument about pros and cons.
But I think not only the three people talking were biased. Also, the document we had to fill out on the website was really biased because it said only the advantages for the individuals and the society, and not also including probably some disadvantages.
Aha. Think about why this is. Because we want you to take a biased approach. We want you to make a decision what you want to go forward with. There's not an endorsement of any other idea. And the next step you are going to take is to try to convince somebody else that your idea might be a good one. And this is about making a decision. And of course, you need to balance pros and cons, and you need to make sure that you represent the pros in a totally appropriate way. These people were not briefed to give you the pros and cons. These people were here to advocate their particular proposal. And this is why I'm asking you now the question. This is exactly the point you should take from these sessions. This was not a bias-free presentation. Yeah? And so I'm glad you guys say it. This is somebody trying to sell you something, which is absolutely appropriate if we keep in mind that this is what it is. If we take it as scientific information, as something balanced for a political decision maker, this is not what such business presentations are about. And this is actually quite interesting because this is where advocacy and business promotion links, because advocates tend to do the same thing. And then the role of a publicly elected official, of a parliament, of an administration is to balance all of those interests and put the various pros and the various cons in context. So this exercise that you are going to do is one around creating innovation. And creating innovation is not necessarily to get everybody on board and to make a compromise with everybody. And to make that obvious and visible, exactly that, the key learning from the last session, watch out. Whoever you listen has an agenda. Nobody will ever tell you the weighted absolute truth. Even most scientists have agendas. They have their own assumptions, they have their own perspectives, they want to fund their own projects going forward. So even in that, you get a selection. You will always have a bias. And this here were, if you want, extreme example of biases. And the key is to always be aware. You do that yourself when you try to convince somebody to give you something, when you try to convince your parents 4 years ago that they need to allow you to stay overnight or to go out after 2 a.m. or whatever. You were using biased arguments and you were not weighing the risks appropriately from a perspective of society and of your parents. And this is a setup that we have looked at here. And by the way, I was wondering that nobody was asking. The Jordanian solution is something that could be highly debated. Do you really want a database in a country where everything about you is in? And every doctor who you may not trust can see anything about your history without you giving perfect consent. Would you want that? So this was totally not considered. On the other hand, you have an entire debate about vaccination, because vaccination is not only positive. It has cost, it treats healthy people with something we don't really know how it's going to function in the body in the long run. So this is, even if you do it scientifically, not balanced. So you had a question and we need a mic. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we were actually discussing that same issue in our group. We're talking about not even only doctors could see our data, it's probably, we know how easy it is to hack into a database, and it could also be used for economics, like maybe the person you work for may get your data, even though that is not what you want. You may not get a workplace because of some illness you have. And also, I think that the problem with vaccination is, especially this reversed vaccination, as he called it, like using the virus to create a vaccine, is actually really debatable, because it only is a vaccine against this one specific virus, and we all know that viruses mutate every year, every other year, so you're only resistant against 1% of this infection, and it is actually not as effective as he made it out to be.
Yeah, I think there's several components to it. One component that's really, really important for all of us here to understand. The innovation system, if you change anything, if you innovate on any area, you will always have winners and losers. Anything you do has losers. Somebody is not getting any more what they used to get. And almost in any system, some people or some processes will win. The critical path that civic society there plays is to make that obvious and to make it transparent and to allow for such decision making. Yeah? There is no single innovation you will be able, or anybody will be able to come up with, that is only beneficial. Yeah? And these are the 2 points we wanted to get across between the lines for these 3 very different lectures. There's one other point. Did anybody notice how a scientist and a financial person and a consultant, how they communicate differently? Anybody, any opinion on that? Do we have the... By the way, what happened to the second microphone? It's somewhere... Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, for example, the last guy was pretty easy to understand what he wanted us to sell, whereas the scientific person, I think it was the first presentation, I don't know, at the end of the presentation I was like, what do you actually want to sell me? Yeah.
Yeah, he was going down a lot more a balanced way, at least methodologically, but also not doing it. So the perception of that presentation, the intention was to look more balanced than it is, whereas the business presentation has been out-front biased. Yeah, you can debate, but the idea of all this is that you get to observe it and you form your own opinion. Now, this is all not by incident, this is by design that these different people come. Think about it, look at it again in the videos. This is one of the reasons why we tape it for you. So, we will now talk about you innovating. Before we do that, let's quickly look at a few of your solutions. Is there a team that would want to present their brief summary of these 3 USPs? Yeah? You want to go? Come. However you guys want to do it. So why do we do this? We want to understand unique selling propositions, USPs, Alleinstellungsmerkmale of a business proposition. This does not mean that we endorse it. It doesn't mean that we would buy it. We want to formally understand how those are done before you develop your own. I think no, kein freier Platz. Ah. Okay.
Hello. So we're going to start with the adult immunization, and the unique selling point of Novartis Vaccines Institute of Global Health is that they want to develop and offer vaccines for everybody who's in need of vaccines, and irrespectively of their financial background or how often the disease is there on the world. And it's also non-profit, which is special for an organization to produce vaccines. And the benefit for the individual would be that also socially disadvantaged people would have the chance to for a good health and also for a higher life expectancy and a better quality of life. And through that, they can also finance their life more like they want to do it, like not that much money spent on medicine, but for example on education, the living standard, or retirement arrangement.
So just very quickly, you chose Novartis Vaccines Institute for Global Health as the business you are looking at.
Yes.
Did other people do that differently? Yes, okay, because there is an option, and because Rino was talking about two very different things. A big commercial company called Novartis Vaccines. And then there's this very small thing that does vaccine development for the third world, basically, which is Novartis Institute for Global Health, which is technically not a business. It's a goodwill thing that Novartis is doing. So you are now picking the goodwill organization, and you are saying their aim is to get vaccines to those who can't pay for it.
This is right.
Okay, keep going. So if this is what it is, then it's pretty obvious. Benefit for the individual.
Yeah, and there are also benefits for society.
Yeah.
And like that the healthcare cost could be on long term be shortened because there would not be a long-term treatment for the disease, but just like one vaccine and then the disease could be gone. And there would also be a higher labor force, like this is possible, because there are more healthy working people in the state who could work and pay taxes and stuff.
Okay, cool. Now let's hold on for 1 second. Let's quickly stay with the vaccine topic for 2 minutes. Does anybody have a clue whether vaccines is actually a money-making business? The answer is, you say yes. Now let me tell you, it's not. Vaccine is a huge loss maker in the industry, and in the moment globally, nobody makes profits on it, and this is a huge problem. What has happened? And Rino was not directly saying this, he was indirectly complaining about his industry. Let me explain that. The development costs for vaccines are so high that they don't get developed anymore. There's very few new products that came. And for those who are getting developed, the process to get them to market takes very, very long. In consequence, only big pharma, like the big pharma players, can still do vaccines. There is, other than in biotech, no little companies. None of you is likely to start up a vaccine business. Many of you are likely to start up a biotech business. The average investment, I think we said it, for a new vaccine is above €1 billion. So what happened is that all the vaccine companies got bought by big pharma companies, and the big pharma companies have more profitable options to invest their money. So this is a big problem for innovation, because vaccine business, the business that Rino had once started 30 years ago as a vaccine-only business, then got sold, and now it is owned by a major pharma company, and the major pharma company has more profitable options to invest their money. So de facto, vaccines don't get invested in. And they don't get invested in because per se, they have a very low, if not a negative profitability, and that is a vicious circle. Any industry you don't invest in at some point is dead. And this is the result of that. One of the many results is that we don't have an Ebola vaccine today, even though scientifically we could. One of the many results is that we don't have more cancer vaccines in the moment, but we could. So this is not a case where there's big profits being made. There's a case where nobody makes profits and everybody loses. The people that are losing in the moment big time are the guys who will get Ebola, to stretch on that example, or who will have cancers very soon that are actually vaccinatable, like many cancerous diseases who actually have a virus somewhere in the chain. So this is it's a fuck up of the system. There's no other word, yeah? Nobody earns money. The public health is suffering. While people still think somebody is ripping off big benefits, and in the end, we don't get the innovation we want. This is not funny, yeah? This is a big problem, because very few people would not engage in an argument to say that it is more ethical, even with a low risk, to vaccinate a person than to have the person suffer later on or die. Any argument, ethical, religious, economic, macro, micro, any argument you can make on that point. And these type of situations you have all over the healthcare-related industry. And this is a big deal here in vaccines at Reno. Now again, look at who is talking, and to your point, question exactly what the bias of the person is a senior employee of a company that is now owned by Big Pharma. So he will not say that clearly as we can do it, but it was apparent in his discussion. So this is just one point on one of these companies, why it's interesting to try to understand between the lines what people are saying. But I didn't want to interrupt you. Do you want to go to the do you want to go to the second part where the presentation was good for the...
Okay. Yeah, we figured out the USP for the electronic data solutions. It's just that you have the opportunity to give a preventive and individualized healthcare. So it's just basically much more easy. And the benefit for the individuals is you can give much more comfortable accessibility to healthcare services. So it's just what I just said. And you have an improved patient-doctor experience. And yeah, you can give better care due to more efficient analysis and continuous treatment. I think that's clear. And yeah, the benefits for society is a reduction of the costs of healthcare in general, more reliable statistics, and yeah, improved productivity due to healthy labor force.
Yeah.
Guess that's
Excellent
it.
point. This is again all very good. If I may add a little bit to that. The argument he was making, I think, was around Jordan never had old people. You saw that already only 30 or 35 years ago, people were dying in their 50s. So when you travel to this country now, you travel to a country that doesn't have a history of grandparents alive and old, what you already take for totally normal. So there was maybe the one guy in the village who got above 70 or 80. It was a true exception. There was no rule that old people would be around. That happened only during the last generation. Different experience. We are privileged in Germany. Very, very privileged. So this experience, if you think about it, you will see a healthcare system that never had to deal with old people. now they appear, and they have all the right in the world to receive the same type of service. So what does that mean? It means cost will go up even further and even more substantially. Oh, guys, can you wait 1 second with talking? So the cost will go up even more substantially than it does for us. And what that means is a development country like Jordan has no perspective to just put more cash in that pot. So in order to be able to provide these services, they need to save money. So that's the argument he was making. It's not so much about reduction of healthcare expenditures. It's about at all being able to take care and to service this new organization. Now, this is, of course, heavily biased, because only in an Arab state you can do a presentation on healthcare data and not a single time use the word data protection, privacy. Yeah? Try that in Israel or try that here, won't work. So there's another strong cultural point, but there is, of course, an opportunity that these guys can capture, because they indeed, in their society, they do not have the privacy discussion to the same degree we have it. This society cares for other things that are fundamental to people. Very interesting relationship. So that was this one. I think you presented it very well. Got the core points. Do you want to do the third one?
Yes, the last one, the last organization that was presented was the MHC, the Medical Healthcare Organization. They were the first ones to realize that it's not really clever, or it's not the most clever thing to bring people from from one German city to another one, especially nurse staff. And so their idea, their unique selling point, was to bring Spanish or other nurses from other countries to Germany, to German hospitals, and so that the nurse staff there could be supported by them. And the special thing was that they provided a lot of support and a lot of services for this nurse staff. For example, they organized language courses and many other services. And so the hospitals, the German ones, didn't have to provide these services, and it was everything that this medical healthcare organization did for them. So the hospitals didn't have to worry about that. The benefit for the individual can be divided into different persons, because, for example, you can focus on the nurse staff from, for example, from Spain, because their benefit was that they could find a working place. We all know the high unemployment rates in Spain and other southern European countries. And also there was a benefit for the German hospitals, and especially their own staff, the German staff, because they couldn't, they really had a relief of stress, and this way, the stress could get lower this way. And also the German hospitals had less stuff to worry about. They didn't have to find new workers, but this organization was able to provide this. Then the benefits for society are that the whole healthcare system in Germany is supported by these workers, and also the present shortage in nursing personnel can be, yes, this is the solution for this. And also the quality of the hospitals is increased, because as we've heard, the quality of the nurse degree in Spain is another one than in Germany, where in Germany we don't even have something like that. And this way the nurse staff has a better and higher education than the German nurse staff.
Super. Also perfectly done. Thank you, guys. Thank you. This was well presented, well told, very clear. So, as everybody else who has presented, really well done.